I'm Savannah from Black Witch Coven, and today I have the Ask Savannah question and answer video series, and I've just printed off a whole bunch of, yes, that is coffee. It's terrible, isn't it? I've printed off some of your questions, and I'll attempt to answer in a logical way, my own logic. Now, for one person, I did have to ask some of my other group members for their opinion. Yes, it is a question about angels. So I did ask my workers my group members who actually work with the angelic. No, they are not on the left-hand path, but in our group, in case you're just joining us, we're quite an eclectic group, and we are on, I say we're all on a Luciferian journey. That's where we're not cast in stone with our opinion. Everyone has the opportunity to always learn and grow and question what they're doing. And is that right for you right now? And will it be right for you in 5 years' time? Who knows? But don't limit yourself by someone else's rules. So we have a senior group of people that are really just doing their own thing. So with some of these questions, if I don't know the answers, and I don't know the answers to a lot of things, I will extend that to my group members and get their very learned opinions on these matters. So with that being said, what else has been going on with us this month? We've been super busy. You know, this month just flew past so fast. I've been meaning to get out all of these videos I've been shooting for the spell casting series. There's not enough hours in the day to tell you the truth. So you can see the backdrop right now. I've brought some of my herbs into this little space where I can demonstrate these spells. And they're pure witchcraft spells. So nothing that's too freaky, nothing that people feel uncomfortable with, but basically so you can bring the energy that's already within you, that's been in your bloodline and your history for centuries and centuries. And now, you know, because of all the head effing society has done to you, you probably haven't released. And so I'm going to bring back basic magic so people can just feel comfortable in doing everyday type of spell casting. I have been giving different traditions and different styles, because not everyone can have the tools or the equipment to cast a spell for many reasons. It's not always financial. Sometimes you could be living in a space or have a partner or a family that doesn't approve of witchcraft as yet. And so I've taken all of that into consideration. But yeah, so that'll be coming out when I get a minute. And lots of questions on where are these videos. I have to say, I don't consider myself a YouTuber. I release some videos on YouTube, but at the end of the day, I am a practicing, living, breathing witch/occultist. And, you know, my clients, we call them VIPs, for lack of a better word. And the clients that I'm currently working with, they'll always come first. And then if I get a minute, I'll release a YouTube video. But definitely I have been making time to come back and answer some of these questions. So what else? I know Edwin, Max, Lady Hannah, a few others have been getting together to do the full moon releasing and abundance rituals. And they have been super awesome, really, really successful. I've been sharing with people the importance of consistency in magic. In my group, that is really important, not to become an armchair witch or a keyboard warrior. I really think people, if they just let go of the books and just go with the flow, see what comes organically and naturally. You know, it may not always sound fluid, and it may not always make sense, and you may feel a little bit dorky when you're doing some of these rituals or incantations, but it doesn't matter. It's really having the confidence just to go with your gut and trust yourself and do that consistently to unlock basically that level in your head that takes you from the mundane into the magical. I'll talk more about that actually in the spell crafting videos, but it's very important. There's many methods you can use to actually go from the mundane into the magical. But if you can't do that just by meditating, and you know, especially if you're not practiced in the art of where you're supposed to go when you're meditating to go into a trance state. It's not just the normal meditation. So yeah, we'll get into that later. But my group has been performing these rituals for people, and it's been really awesome. So, and they're doing a great job. So yay to my team. And a shout out Blonde Gypsy. She's a tarot reader from our group. She is, so many of you have asked about her recently, and she has been recovering from an operation. So send her your positive vibes. And but yes, she is recovering and will be back doing her thing pretty soon. So let's get into these questions, shall we? First question. I was in a vigil for my brother-in-law who was dying of cancer. I evoked Archangel Michael, Raphael, and St. Jude every day. I like St. Jude. I was in my kitchen, and from behind my left-hand side, but above me, I heard very distinctly, "Why do you bother me every day?" Intuitively, I knew it was Michael. Is it possible to be a pain in the ass to archangels? I know they aren't warm and fuzzy creatures who are just dying to spend time with us. I replied to him and said, "Isn't that just your thing though? Like, isn't that what you do? I'd like to tell you that I won't bother you again, but that just isn't true." So her question is, can we be a pain in the ass to archangels? So my answer to this question is, I think we are being a pain in the ass to spirits if we don't have a clear reason for calling them down. But I'm talking about in a ritual sense. So I know, and from other occultists and fratters and so forth, and people that actually work with the archangels, they will tell you that if you're going to evoke an angel, then you have to have a purpose for calling it. And most people will recommend that you actually prepare a list of questions. So when they come down and all the effort you have to put into when you're evoking them, by the time they get there, you better have something savvy to say to them. However, I will say that if you're talking to them every day, isn't that what spirits are supposed to do? Like, listen to your ranting or whatever. But it's interesting what you have said. Can we be a pain in the ass to archangels? So I thought I would ask my group members that actually work every single day with the archangels. And let me just read exactly what they said. So Mia said, now Mia works with the Kabbalah. That is her technique and style. No, we can't be a pain in the ass to archangels. The angels' job is to help us, and they love doing it. What you heard isn't an archangel, but rather your own fears. Now, also from our group, Nehau and Shanu are also workers in the light. They work with the archangels. And she says they do not speak using words bother. They will ask you the purpose of your request, but bothering and being a pain is not in their dictionary. Their words are more genuine and full of love and light. One cannot be a pain to the archangels. They are always here to help us, regardless of the situation we are in. Be careful of shapeshifters and entities trying to manipulate your energy. Always ask the being, are you of light or part of the divine? Silence will speak volumes. Take it what you will. These are the ones that actively work with the archangels all the time. And like I said, my opinion on this is that when you're calling down in a ritual to one of these beings, be it a demon or an angel, just have a specific reason. But like you said, you know, your brother-in-law is dying of cancer, so that seems like a pretty good reason to me. And look, trickster spirits are everywhere. There's lots of lower level energies and entities everywhere. And yes, they do like to play games on us. Even myself, sometimes I notice when I'm doing divination, I'll start getting some freaky answers, or answers not consistent to what I normally would get from that specific spirit. And so I just know that I probably have a trickster around, and it's quite normal. Next question. Hi, Savannah. I hope this finds you well. I'll get right to my question. My ex-boyfriend committed suicide over a year ago. I used to have a really strong connection with him, and I don't think I'll ever be able to move on from his death. Oh, I don't know what exactly I'm looking for, but I'm wondering if there's a better way of communicating with him. I want to know whether, wherever he is now, is he better? Is he better now? I carry a lot of guilt with me, and it's killing me not knowing whether he's doing okay, not being able to reach out to him. Any response of some sort would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for your content you provide in reading this message. Oh, well, blessed be to you, Nicola. That is really, really tough, especially when someone commits suicide. In one way, it's cruel to everybody else. Like, the pain someone must feel inside in order to take that act is one thing, but also the devastation that it leaves behind, especially if that person is deeply loved or in a relationship, and feeling like you haven't been able to help that person in their time of pain or grief. And there's nothing that I can tell you that you haven't heard already or read about already 100 times. But so before I become a grief counselor and give you mundane advice, let me try and skip straight over to the magical advice I can give you. So when somebody passes on, they could be, it really depends on what is their purpose for coming down in this lifetime. So yes, I believe in reincarnation, in case you didn't know that already. So what is their purpose for coming down? And did they complete that purpose? Did they learn the lesson? Is there any reason why they want to be hanging around here? Are they stuck in this body? Or have they gone on? Have they transitioned, already gone on to the next life? Now, I totally understand what it means to lose someone that you really love, and they have been going through some trauma. There's been some issue in their life that they haven't been able to talk to you about for one reason or another, or maybe you were too busy to listen to this issue because we all have a lot going on. You didn't realize how serious it was, and then they're taken away from you. Like, I totally get it. One of the loves of my life was shot in the head probably about 11 or 12 times. And that was during a time where we were having some issues. I had some conditions I put down on him, and was making his life a little bit tough. And then he was shot and died. And when he passed away, he went straight away over to the other side. There wasn't a time where I could actually connect with him. So that's that example. Whereas my father, when he transitioned, he stayed around a while because there were people here, other people other than me, that actually needed him. And then he has transitioned over. So it is frustrating when you do want them. Oh, and also, for example, my grandmother, when she died, I know that she was waiting for my grandfather on the other side straight away. There was her mother, her so she had she died like in her 90s. So there was apart from me and my children and so forth, there was so many people on the other side that she really wanted to go and connect with. So she hasn't come back. So for you, I think the first step would be to speak to not a clairvoyant, sorry, I said clairvoyant before, a medium, a psychic medium who actually has that skill. But even from our group, we have 2 psychic mediums in our group. And just to understand a little bit more where they are, have they transitioned completely or not? And then they can answer the question, are they in peace? So I like to say, though, personally, and based on experiences from my clients and my perspective, that once somebody transitions or they're going over to the other side, their soul energy, it's not a state of punishment, because there is actually no judgment on the other side. Once we leave this physical shell and we transition back to our soul, I strongly believe that we are only, the gatekeeper says, did you learn your lesson or not? And probably you'll be reincarnating, because most of us have been reincarnating for a long, long, long time. It's just what we do. And unless you're really an ascended master, somebody who is, we're looking at those life path numbers, someone that's getting very high in those life path numbers, you've learned all these lessons, you've reincarnated, and you're really going up to that level where now you could, I don't know what the ascended masters do, but probably help other people, managers if you want. They're probably the CEOs of their area, and they probably help other managers manage other people who are transitioning. I don't know all of those answers. All I know is that there isn't any judgment like we like to think there is. For yourself, really what you need is healing work, because all of this pain is being encoded in your body. The emotions are being stored in different places based on your own background, where you've stored trauma previously, how you cope with pain. That really depends on how devastating this is for your own mental state. And so on our website, we have a service called Metaphysical Wound Healing to try and start. It's like a therapy session, if you want, without actually speaking. So it's done with, of course, distance healing, but it's a very specific purpose. But also to have lots of energy work. So whether it's aura cleansing or chakra cleansing. And like you probably know, when you come in with us into our group, you can put in your order for what you want, if it's aura or chakra cleansing, but we're probably going to give you what you need. If you're having a specific issue, you just write it down, and we tailor everything. Most of the stuff on our website is just a placeholder for the time and a generalized sort of like a statement of what it's about, but then we will tailor that to our client's specific situation. One of the emotions probably trapped in your body is forgiveness. So have you forgiven him for taking his life? That's something that's very, very difficult to do, because subconsciously this is now a wound on you. He's passed this on to you. Are you able to heal from this? You won't be able to heal from it by yourself unless you have someone you can talk to about it, or actually, if that's off the plate, like I said, having some level of healing work to process the emotions, the trauma that's locked in your body, to start shifting that out from your body. But also do something positive. You might already be doing this already, if it's coming up to the 1st year anniversary of his death, is to have a celebration of his life ceremony. So whether it's just you remembering all the positive things about that person, having an altar space set up. I don't have one in here, but I have an altar just for my ancestors set up. Every Friday, today's Friday, I will light a candle and give an offering to my ancestors, even though, like I said, they have moved on, or most of them. I still want to have them in my life. I still remember so many positive things when I look at those photos, even though, for example, my father died too young, and my ex, died, and we hadn't healed our relationship rift at that particular time. And I was very angry when he died. I was very, very angry. I couldn't even cry at his funeral. In fact, I felt like throwing rocks in at the grave as it was being lowered into the ground. That's how angry I was. Talk about issues, right? but still, now I've released all of that because it is what it is. He died too young, but I have to remember all the positive aspects of him, forgiving myself to be able to actually move on. And it's not to say that you ever forget them. That's why you have the altar space. But you have to celebrate their life because, you know, our life is very limited as well. So don't disrespect yourself by mourning for too long of a period. Okay, next question. Esmeralda asks, need help with spell attraction work. I have been on my own working magically on a man for love work for 7 to 8 months, but I realized he is spiritually protected because he has had prayers on him. He also has a wall which is a blockage and no magic has been able to reach him. It bounces back to me. I need help penetrating his protection and wall. Are you able to help, and what do you recommend? So I don't know what magical system this is in. And look, and I don't know if he's a practicing magician or not. There's prayers on him. I'm not quite sure. But I'll give you an example. Now, I'm not going to tell you exactly the spell I have done to that's been done on me as well to help protect me. So, you know, work that's sent my way, of course, is deflected and goes back to the other person. And it's not, I won't even say what happens because that is part of the magic. Not all magic is meant to be an internet discussion. That's why it's arcane knowledge. It's occult knowledge. It's meant to be secret. And in the left-hand path, I hate to say it, if you actually read the books, it says that unless somebody is on the left-hand path and practicing, you should not share the deeper occult secrets. And I am strictly of that way of thinking. I'll share spells, but I'm not going to share things that are, you know, you give other people enough power and they try and pull you down. Why do that? That's crazy. That's why we're here working on the left-hand path and stepping away from mainstream, right? Let's not make this mainstream. Now, if you've been working on him for about 7 or 8 months and you haven't had any luck, once again, it's hard for me to say because you haven't said what you have been doing, but what you need to do, what you can do, is if you have a voodoo doll or a puppet, create one of him, bring it to life, baptize it if you're working in that system. Once you bring it to life, then you visualize his aura all around him. And what you're going to do is give an offering to the spiritual world that if you remove this aura, someone's aura of protection, and you're able to affect his chakras, right? You stop them from spinning. It's kind of like reverse pranic healing. If you can do that, then you have a better chance of applying whatever magic you're trying to apply. Then I'd be asking you, what spirits are you working with? What type of energy are you using to create enough energy to be able to break through whatever he's doing? So let's talk about timing. Once again, I don't know what you're doing, but if I was working something like a love spell for 7 to 8 months and I didn't have a result, and I'm talking about love attraction, not breakup work, not all of this sort of stuff. Love attraction work, if I haven't been able to break him down and get him back within a 3-month period, I would re-look at what I was doing, the technique that I was using. Are you doing divination? What has your tarot reading said, or your runes, or your pendulum? If you're working with spirit, have you had spiritual messages about what is actually the challenge in your work? So before I actually do any type of spell anyways, I will pull up different cards. And what I'm asking spirit when I'm pulling up these cards, this is a way I do it. It's different. Each worker will do it a different way. But I'm asking spirit, what are the specific challenges I am going to face while doing this work, either for myself or for a client? And then I won't be disappointed about what that challenge or what you hear, what is the feedback. I'm always happy to receive any message at all, because that way I know, okay, I need to tailor what I'm doing, or I need to look at this from a different perspective. For example, and once again, I'm just guessing, if you've had a challenge with this man, such you've had a long history of arguing and fighting, and the reason why you broke up was because you had the police called, and he was taken away to jail on domestic violence charges, or there was some other horrible relationship condition that once you broke up, it almost felt like a gigantic releasing for that person. Then that person has done his own work to protect him from you, to block you out. And he probably has now some level of spiritual protection, a guardian of some sort, looking out for him to block what you're trying to do from coming his way. So what I would be doing first in that case is a lot of work to get him, not just to get back with you, but to start to break down those barriers. Offerings to the spiritual world, so your spirit guide can talk to his spirit guide, to soften that relationship, to show that perhaps you've changed, if you have changed. Can you soften? Can you show him that you've made mistakes before? Because remember, you're trying to get back with them. So even if it was his fault, I say to clients, the art of magic is manipulation, and that really comes from your personality to start with. So if I can get someone back with you, if you act like a crazy bitch, then he is still going to go when he comes back into the door. It doesn't mean he comes back and says, I'm so sorry for everything I did. All the magic has done is dragged him back into the door. And now you have possibly two angry, hostile people. And so you're going to have a lover's spat or an ex-lover's spat, and then he'll take off. And you'll be pissed off and calling again and go, hey, he come back for 5 minutes, but then he went. The spell didn't work. So the reason why you have to do that, it's a step-by-step approach. Look at the divination. What I'm saying is, do the divination work. Get those messages and work at this milestone by milestone so you can get the end result. Now, if you haven't done divination before, candle magic, I use candle magic and suggest this for clients all the time. So let me just give you an example. So candles, especially these jar candles, they say they're 7-day candles. But really, they take between, depend on the environment, of course, probably between 4 to 5 days. But if you're not practiced in the art of reading tarot, which can take a long time to learn, or you doubt yourself by the spinning of a pendulum, especially if you're in the USA or South America, these are really cheap to buy. And so to light a candle with your petition, either under the glass or written on the candle, and ask for the spiritual message, you get a good idea if what you're doing or your petition is going to be heard and fulfilled by the spiritual world. For example, so say we're looking at your love spell, and your goal for your love spell is, I want to get him back and have a loving, committed relationship. And bam, you get something like this. This is, as you can see, a lot of black on this jar with a whole ton of wax at the base. Is this a bad sign? Well, it's not saying your wish is granted, is it? What it's saying is that there's a lot of blockages, basically completely blocked. But here's a positive. At the base of this candle, you can see the wax. So for me, and the way I interpret this, it means you need to change your petition, but you can redo this work. So change the petition, rethink your strategy, and try again. That's what that means. So don't freak out just because you get a black candle like that. It just means rethink what you're doing. Now, for this candle, here we see a clear candle, right? Quite clear. There were some blockages in the beginning, but that quickly was overcome while you're doing the work, and we have quite a clear base at the end. And if you like to read the bottom of the candle, yes, it is a little messy at the base. So I would say let's continue doing the same petition for something like this. Keep the pressure, the pressure of the petition on the target. Keep your desire being pushed in, that low frequency energy into your target. And it really helps for you to get that spiritual feedback versus just casting these spells for 7 months. Maybe you are doing divination, I don't know. But I would always have find out what I can be doing differently or what I could be doing differently to get the result I want. And don't look at a negative piece of feedback, whether that's through the jar candles or through divination, as a kick in the face. Just because you do a spell doesn't mean it's one and done. Most spells, traditional magic, means you cast that spell, you raise that energy, and you're taking that spell over normally a period of days. Like, for example, a 9-day spell. You'll start on the most auspicious day for that spell. In the most auspicious time, you'll cast that spell probably over 9 days. Or, for example, money magic could be, for me, every Thursday under the influence of Jupiter, using a certain spirit that I work with, depending on if it's for wealth or maintenance or money attraction, or if it's for business. So you see what I mean? I've got my little system there, and I'm chopping and I'm changing and I'm asking questions. I'm not just saying I did a spell and give me my result. Not saying you're doing that. But other than that, sometimes let me just also say that sometimes you just can't have what you want. When spirit says no, the answer's no. There's not even, you can come to me, you can pay me $1, you can spend $10,000. It's not going to matter. Spirit doesn't care about money. So anyways, I think I answered that question, but hope that's given you a couple of ideas anyways. Okay, next question. This is from Olga. She says, "Hi, Savannah. I think there is some spirit or entity or combination in my rental property. My tenant, who suffered from bipolar, had hung herself in the backyard 3 years ago in the gazebo. We have been renovating on and off on this property, but it feels stagnant. Recently, the departed tenant's cat visited this house at the gate. Friendly little cat. I called it in, and she walked in and hissed at the front bedroom and walked down the hallway towards me. Seemed like she was calling out for the owner. Is there some way to tell if there's an entity and ghost? And is there a way of removing and cleansing the house for good? All the bad that has happened in the house. Honestly, I'm trying to refresh his house with a reno, but still feels like something is stopping it. Warm regards, Olga." So that's really interesting. I totally get what you mean about having a cat that comes in and senses the energy, because just animals are renowned for picking up on that spiritual energy. So if the cat hissed at the bedroom door, I dare say that there probably is an entity that the cat didn't like. Now, we know a lot of animals, they sense the spirits are around, but they could make a noise and then move to a different part of the room. But if an animal really doesn't like the spirit, it will hiss, the hairs will stand back, stand up on its back, or the dog will growl or start losing it. So that's when you know there's a spirit there that's probably not the friendliest or has bad intentions. So the first thing you should do, of course, I have to say, is on our website, there is a service that we have, which is cleansing of the space, of your space. So I wouldn't go in by the service, which is a lot more expensive for poltergeist removal. Just do the cleansing of the space. And during that time, which is a more affordable service, during that time, we can have a look if there is something there in that space, whether it's a ghost spirit or it's negative energy from people or a being or a different type of, certain type of entity, if you want. We could have a look at that time. But otherwise, you can't sage away a lot of ghost spirits or entities that have their own life force, their own purpose for being there. Negative energies we can sweep through, but energies like that are human created, sure, you can smudge your space from that. You know what it's like as a mother, your kids are going ballistic at home and you need to cleanse that energy from the space. Yeah, totally get that. Some oils like cedarwood oil, it's very good for some of the lower level entities. They don't like it. I learned that from Sally Ann Glassman of the Botanica down in the Bywater. She said, she's a Voodoo priestess, and she says, Savannah, just try this. And soon as my clients started trying that method, it really helped with that level of ghost or spirit. So maybe you, Olga, might want to try that as well. But really the best way to deal with it is to have someone do a cleansing of the space, somebody that isn't, a spirit, an energy worker, to have a look, to remove it from the space. And then what we do is that you reconnect with us and you tell us in about a month's time, is there anything else there? Is there, sometimes what happens, spirits, sorry, I'm jumping around everywhere as usual, but spirits will attach to individuals. So I know that sounds weird, but some people just connect to the spirits or they attract the spirits. And but we would be able to tell why this connection is there and have a deeper conversation about that. So so long as the ghost isn't hurting you or the spirit isn't hurting you for now, it doesn't sound like you're under a threat. But yeah, it can be sometimes unnerving to have something there, especially if you're not sure what it is. Justin asks, I have a unique question. I have been attempting to come to an agreement with Lucifer for assistance. Part of the deal is if he'll help me, I'll have rituals performed once my financial situation has improved. That has not happened yet, but I've seen a sign of good faith on his part. So I'm trying to find someone that can do a small ritual back as a sign. I'm interested in keeping up my end of the deal since I'm interested in keeping up with my end of the deal since I'm not currently able to do so myself. So it sounds like you're asking me to help do a ritual to keep this, your offerings or your relationship with Lucifer current, so he keeps on helping you. So I would say to that, Justin, that really it is up to you to keep that relationship going. I mean, we have, once again, candles. I'll cover the client's name. It's called Praise Candles to Lucifer, right? And we have a big shrine here, of course, for Lucifer. We light candles for Lucifer and other demonic spirits and Celtic spirits. We light candles for Hecate and Lilith, although people say she's demonic too. And some of the other goddesses that I personally work with. So we can light candles for you and put them at that altar with that praise, so that's a sign of you actually putting in effort. But if you're saying that you don't have the funds right now to do that, people get confused at what is really necessary to actually give praise and sacrifice. Now, we don't like the word sacrifice, but too bad. That's actually what is needed. You've got to get over some of these trigger words in today's society because everyone's so butter sensitive about everything. But sacrifice can mean the sacrifice of your time. So what I would be thinking if I was Lucifer is, if there isn't any sacrifice of time, don't ask me to sacrifice my time. In fact, that's too many words. He would even think more about it than you didn't do it. So perhaps he's moved on. If you're a young gentleman, I will say that Lucifer seems to give young guys a little bit more grace. I will say that. Just being my experience, though you guys are quite lucky. But the idea that here you've said, I've been attempting to come to an agreement with Lucifer. Part of the deal is if he'll help me, I'll have these rituals performed. This is where it gets sticky, if he'll help me. So when I'm actually performing a ritual, I don't have this negotiation that you have to help me or I'm not going to. I'm going to, and then because I'm actually taking the action to do it. So I'm going to do this right now. And then it's up to the spiritual world if they feel like my petition or my request is valid and warranted. And so be it. I'm not going to not follow Lucifer or any of my demon if he chooses not to do X, Y, and Z for me. I'm here regardless. It's an unconditional relationship. And, because I'm getting a little older now, or I've been doing this for a while, I've found that you go on a journey on the left-hand path. Not everything is handed to you the way you would desire it to be received. The reason why is that we don't, part of the left-hand path is the acquisition of wisdom and knowledge. And so especially my goddess, because Astaroth to me is a goddess, and it's okay if it's a god to you, it imparts wisdom to me in a certain regard, as does Lucifer impart wisdom on a certain regard. And then there's lots of other deities or demons that I work with, as you would as a pagan, as we used to do historically, for tens of thousands of years. We have a different god, or now they call them demon, for everything that you're trying to achieve. And then you have a higher level overarching spirit or God. And then, of course, you have the universal source of everything. So you don't get to tell, you get to do, and then you might receive the blessing. So look at, just to understand that concept, because, the New Age idea is that prove yourself to me and then I might participate. The ancient gods don't care. So for you, and I've gone off on a tangent again, for you, Justin, what I suggest you do is that it takes nothing to have, let me see here, a chime candle. One little chime candle. Maybe dress it with oil, maybe not. And if you can't even do that, because what I like to think is that you can hold this candle and you can meditate upon it, or light it in Lucifer's name. Now, these can take maybe about 20 minutes to burn down, but in that time, you're just thinking about Lucifer, maybe saying a prayer to him, maybe you're connecting with him and asking him all these things that you want to achieve. You're asking him to impart his wisdom and blessings upon you so that you can become the man you need to be, all of that sort of stuff. But that's very easy for you to do, and it's always better if you can do it. Now, if you can't do that with the candle, because maybe someone in your house is around there and you can't do it. You've got no time at all to give 5 minutes of praise. Well, firstly, one side of me says, then you don't deserve the blessing. But the other side says, stop being lazy. I suppose that's on this side. The other side says, make some time, because, well, that's on this side too. I'm having a moment. You've got to make time. You just have to make time. It's like wanting to do a spell, but you didn't do the spell, but you have the equipment for the spell and all the books, but you want it to manifest. You actually have to do the work if you want to receive the blessing. So, like I was saying, after decades and decades following a witchy path, you just realize that not everything's given to you in the way that you desire to receive it. And sometimes the lessons are painful, but I am grateful for that lesson, because maybe in 2 years, maybe in 3 years, you can reflect back and you can see why you were taken on this other path, not this path that you wanted to go on. You had to go on this path, have all of these lessons, or education, or maybe events to happen, so you can actually get here and have strength. So just commit in some way, whether it's a morning ritual, 5 minutes in the morning, whether it's an afternoon ritual. With Lucifer, of course, he is the morning light. So perhaps every morning when you wake, maybe you, if you can, light an incense, light a candle, or even just think, before you even get out of bed, give praise to Lucifer. Spend some time every morning. No one even need know what you're doing, but just connect with him. Build up that relationship. So I kind of, if you want the relationship, you have to put in the time, really. And like I said, if you want me to do a ritual, sure, we've got a ton of them on the website, or, we can light a praise candle for you. Next question from Den. And Den says, hello, I'm a beginner in practicing spells. I would like to know, how frequent must I practice a specific spell before I see results? So this is a very common question. How frequent? You must, if you're a beginner at anything, you need to practice. So you need to fake it till you make it. So when you're a beginner, say, for example, you're just doing protection magic, and depending on what system you're doing, whether you're casting a circle, you're calling a spirit to each of the watchtowers, you're doing candle magic, how are you dressing that candle? Are you using the right day of the week? This is when we say, have a book of shadows. And I like to say, when you're beginning, make sure you write. Writing is quite a cathartic process. Look, I have an electronic book of shadows too, but I will go back to my written book of shadows, because even though I'm a very messy writer, my handwriting's atrocious. These are all, it's my personal way of casting spells. And I also, especially when I first started, I would take note of what spell I did, what time of day was it, what day of the week was it, what herbs did I use. And that way I can begin learning, based on me, what works best for me. And so this is what you do year after year after year, until you realize, okay, I like this type of magical system because it works best energetically for me. I like this, I like these type of spells because I get the best result from them. But I would practice all the time. Now, because, and I only say this because I've been doing it for such a long time, I don't have to do all those things I used to do, because now I have enough energy and relationships that I can manifest a lot of things without doing all of the other stuff I used to do. But it would be amiss of me to say to you what I do and expect you to have the same result, because if you're just starting, you need to learn about the traditions and understand how all of these elements fit into each other, and then how you energetically exist within those elements to be able to manifest energy so you can get what you want. In saying that, basic spell casting is super easy, and I'll be showing you that on the Spells of Witchcraft series. So keep practicing. Too many people are just doing spells once. You don't do a spell just once, or do it on consecutive days, something like this. Well, anyways, I've got a whole bunch of other questions, but I feel like I've heard myself talk enough right now. So thank you so much for listening. And, hopefully I'll have some time maybe to put a second video out over the weekend. But if I don't, I will catch you for the next Ask Savannah video in May. Blessed Beast, and thank you for watching.